Shadow Ridge. Just the name sent shivers down your spine. It was an old abandoned house on top of a hill. Locals whispered stories about it. They said it was haunted. The house stood silently like a watchful beast. It had seen years of joy, sorrow, and darkness. Now, only shadows lived there. The house was a challenge for those brave enough to go near. Was it just an old house with scary stories attached? Or was there something truly evil lurking within Shadow Ridge? The answer, like the house itself, remained a chilling mystery. Eliza Blackwood was a name whispered with fear and pity. She was once a loving wife, full of life. Her husband Henry Blackwood was a wealthy man. He loved Eliza dearly. Their happiness was short-lived. Henry, corrupted by greed, betrayed Eliza's trust. He made a deal with dark forces. He wanted more power and wealth. The price? His soul and the happiness of his beloved Eliza. Henry, blinded by ambition, agreed. The deal went sour. Henry was double-crossed. He lost his soul and everything he held dear. Eliza, heartbroken and enraged, cursed the house. The Blackwood curse became legend, trapping Henry's soul and dooming anyone who dared to stay in the house. A group of friends decided to explore Shadow Ridge. They were young and full of that fearless spirit that comes with youth. There was Jake, the skeptical one, Emily, the adventurous one, Ben, the cautious one, and finally, Chloe, the believer. They were armed with flashlights, cameras, and a healthy dose of skepticism. They set out to Shadow Ridge. Their goal was simple: to spend the night in the house and document any paranormal activity. As they drove up the winding road to the house, the air grew colder. The sun began to set. The house loomed over them. Their excitement was mixed with nervousness. Little did they know Shadow Ridge was waiting. The old iron gates creaked open, seemingly welcoming them. The sound echoed in the silence, a lonely, mournful sound. The driveway was overgrown with weeds. The house stood at the end, more menacing in the fading light. As they stepped out of the car, a cold wind whipped around them. The house seemed to sigh as they approached. The front door was ajar, as if inviting them in. Inside, the air was heavy and cold. Dust covered everything. Cobwebs hung from every corner. They set up their cameras and equipment, ready to document whatever the night might bring. The group decided to investigate the basement. The wooden stairs creaked ominously under their weight. The air grew colder as they descended. The smell of damp earth and something unidentifiable filled their nostrils. The basement was dark and cramped. Their flashlights cut through the darkness, revealing cobwebs, broken furniture, and scattered debris. In the far corner they discovered a small wooden door, barely visible in the dim light. With a little effort they managed to break it open. They knew they had stumbled upon something significant. Panic threatened to overwhelm them in the sudden darkness. They fumbled for their flashlights, their hands shaking. Finally, a beam of light pierced the darkness. The book lay undisturbed on its stool. They cautiously approached the book. Its leather cover was cold to the touch. The book fell open to a page filled with faded script and strange diagrams. They realized it was a journal of some kind, detailing Henry Blackwood's obsession with dark magic. The journal revealed the details of Henry's demise. He had gathered 3 objects of great power: a silver amulet, a bloodwood dagger, and a black onyx ring. These were to be his offerings to the entity in exchange for ultimate power, but the entity had deceived him. Instead of granting him power, it had devoured his soul, leaving him a hollow shell, cursed to wander Shadow Ridge for eternity. Eliza, driven by grief and rage, fought back with a power the entity had not anticipated. She used her love for Henry and her own life force to bind his soul to the house. Her final act was to imbue the journal with a fraction of her own life force, hoping that one day someone might find it and break the curse. They were now caught in a centuries-old battle between good and evil. The group huddled together, their faces pale with fear and uncertainty. The weight of the journal's revelations was heavy on their minds, each word they read deepening their dread. They now understood the true nature of the curse, a dark and malevolent force that had haunted Shadow Ridge for generations. Eliza, in her grief and fury over her lost love, had bound Henry's soul to Shadow Ridge, ensuring he would never find peace. He was doomed to wander the halls for eternity, a restless spirit trapped in a never-ending nightmare. The curse also affected anyone who dared to stay in the house, trapping them within its walls, feeding off their fear and despair. The only way to break the curse was to find the three objects Henry used in his ritual: the silver amulet, the bloodwood dagger, and the black onyx ring. These objects were not just ordinary items, they were imbued with dark magic. These objects had been cursed by Eliza and scattered throughout the property, hidden in places only the bravest would dare to search. The journal provided clues to their locations, filled with cryptic riddles and vague descriptions that would test their resolve. They would need to brave the darkest corners of Shadow Ridge, facing their deepest fears to uncover the hidden objects. Time was of the essence. The longer they stayed within the house, the more powerful the curse became. The longer they stayed within the house, the stronger the curse's hold on them became, tightening its grip with every passing moment. The oppressive atmosphere grew heavier, the shadows darker and more menacing, as if the house itself was alive and watching them. They had to find the objects, break the curse, and escape Shadow Ridge before it claimed them as it had claimed so many before. Their only hope was to stay united, to trust in each other, and to face the horrors of Shadow Ridge together, for only then could they hope to survive and break the curse that had plagued the house for so long. Guided by the cryptic clues in the journal, the group embarked on a perilous quest to find the three cursed objects. Each object was hidden in a different part of Shadow Ridge, protected by supernatural guardians and shrouded in an eerie darkness. The silver amulet was hidden in the old well in the backyard. The bloodwood dagger was said to be located somewhere within the attic, its blade still dripping with the blood of Henry's sacrifice. The black onyx ring, the final object, was the most difficult to locate. The journal only provided a vague description of a hidden chamber, accessible only through a secret passage somewhere on the second floor. Armed with only their wits, their courage, and the fading light of their flashlights, the group ventured into the heart of Shadow Ridge. Each step they took was fraught with danger, each shadow a potential threat. After a harrowing search, the group managed to find all three cursed objects. Each item was hidden in a different part of the mansion, each more terrifying than the last. Each object pulsed with a strange energy, a mixture of Eliza's fury and Henry's despair. The air around them seemed to thrum with a palpable tension, as if the objects themselves were alive. They had gathered in the hidden chamber, a circular room with walls adorned with arcane symbols. The symbols glowed faintly, casting eerie shadows that danced across the walls. As they placed the three objects on a stone altar in the center of the room, the house seemed to shudder around them. The walls creaked and groaned, as if the very structure of the mansion was reacting to their actions. The entity that had claimed Henry's soul materialized before them, drawn to the power of the objects and enraged by their attempt to undo its work. Its presence was overwhelming, filling the room with a cold, malevolent energy. It was a horrifying sight, a grotesque mockery of human form, with glowing red eyes and claws that dripped with an ethereal ichor. Its twisted features were a nightmarish blend of human and beast, a testament to the dark magic that had created it. It lunged at them, its voice a guttural growl that echoed through their very bones. The sound was a chilling reminder of the entity's power and the danger they faced. They fought back with a desperation born of fear and determination. Each member of the group knew that failure was not an option. Their lives and souls depended on their success. Emily wielded the bloodwood dagger, its cursed blade glowing with an eerie light as it sliced through the air, driving back the entity. The dagger seemed to hum with power, resonating with Emily's own resolve. Ben, empowered by a newfound courage, held the silver amulet aloft. The amulet's light shone brightly, creating a protective barrier that shielded the group from the entity's attacks. Chloe, her connection to the supernatural, heightened by the events of the night, clutched the black onyx ring in her hand. The ring's dark energy flowed through her, giving her the strength to stand against the entity's malevolent force. The ring grew warm in Chloe's hand, its surface pulsating with an ancient energy that seemed to awaken the very air around her. The power within the ring resonated deeply, intertwining with the very foundations of the house, as if the structure itself was alive and responding to the call. Suddenly a blinding light erupted from the ring, filling the chamber with a white-hot intensity that seemed to pierce through the darkness. The entity shrieked in agony, its form flickering and distorting under the onslaught of Eliza's unleashed fury, as if the very essence of its being was being torn apart. The house groaned and buckled around them, the walls cracking and the floor trembling as the fabric of the curse unraveled, releasing its grip on the ancient structure. The group shielded their eyes from the blinding light, their ears ringing from the deafening cacophony that filled the air, a symphony of chaos and liberation. Then, as quickly as it began, it was over. The light vanished, leaving behind a profound silence that seemed almost surreal. The light faded, and the entity was gone, banished back to whatever dark corner of the netherworld it had come from, leaving the room eerily calm. The house fell silent, the oppressive atmosphere lifting as if a great weight had been lifted from its shoulders, the air now clear and still. The group, shaken but alive, stumbled out of the chamber and into the hallway, their hearts pounding with the adrenaline of their narrow escape. The house was quiet now, almost peaceful, a stark contrast to the chaos that had just unfolded within its walls. As they stood outside, watching as the first rays of dawn painted the sky in hues of pink and orange, they felt a sense of relief wash over them. They knew they had escaped the curse of Shadow Ridge, their ordeal finally over, and a new day beginning with the promise of peace and freedom.